I am live now. Still working out some changes. Still working out how to make this office space the best space. So, if you're watching on Facebook, you'll see my quilt, my grandmother's quilt here. Let's see. There you go. You can see it right there, my grandmother's quilt. I'm trying to get the sound a little better in here. Doing my best. So I got an external camera, which is terrific. The external camera is fantastic on my laptop, so that is helping with, the weirdness in terms of like color and all that stuff and white balance. So that's helping, except that it won't play nice with my external mic. Of course it won't play nice with my external mic. No, of course it won't. So here we are. So I have you can't see it, but I have blankets draped over everything in here because I have no furniture in here yet. No fluffy furniture, no sound absorption furniture. Yeah, so there we are. Okay, friends, so here we are. My name is Dr. Shannon Coates, and I am a voice education person who works primarily with voice teachers, and I develop resources and classes and courses and all that stuff for voice teachers to help voice teachers teach even better than they already do. Up their teaching game. And I am here in coming to you live from north of Toronto, where we had snow on April 1st. Amazing. Woohoo! North of Toronto, yes. So that's the thing. I've been preparing for my upcoming spring break intensive, which is all about neurodiversity in the voice studio. So that's been on my mind. And just coming out of some prep there to talk today a little bit about something that kind of came up and that has come up, and I actually saw a video that I did on this in I can't remember what year it was now. It might have been at the beginning of 2020, actually. I can't quite remember now. But I did a video on back then on I can't remember what I actually called it. It didn't refer to messy learning, but I talked about messy learning. The title didn't say messy learning in the title, but I talked about messy learning in the video. And then at the time, there were a couple of people who were like, you can't call it messy learning. That's negative, and people are gonna blah 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 blah. And then I was like, That's literally what Lynn Helding calls it. She literally says, learning is messy. I don't know if I've got it in here. She literally says, I do have it underlined with big exclamation marks because I was like, oh. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I'm going to give 3 ways to encourage messy learning in the voice studio. And and I want to just give a short explanation of what we mean by messy learning. And so the learning process, especially when we're learning a motor skill, there's a lot to it. And in order for something to be considered learned, it needs to be in your, deep memory. So it needs to be down in your memory. It needs to be repeatable, and it needs to be repeatable under various conditions, right? So something is considered learned when, and I'll come back to singing, so a technical skill is considered learned when you can do that thing. Let's say, let's say mix a B, B4, B4, the one under C5, right? The one at the top of the staff, or close to the top of the staff. So that's, or maybe sing a high C, or maybe, I don't know, let's say do the run and rejoice, the the annoying run and rejoice from Messiah, of course. Maybe not, of course. Maybe you don't know that one. It's all good whether you do or not. But anyway, a thing like that, a technical skill or a chunk of music is considered learned if you can do it many times, if it's repeatable, if you can do it over and over again under various conditions. So this means it's considered, say that run and rejoice, it's considered learned if you can, yes, execute it many times, but if you can execute it like in a freezing cold church after you've been sitting there for 1,000,000 years, or if you can execute it when the conductor suddenly decides that we're going to go double the speed, yay! Or if the conductor decides we're going to go half the speed, oh my gosh, okay. Or if suddenly there's a different instrument playing behind you than you thought was supposed to be playing behind you, or if you listen and you don't hear something. So that's when that skill is considered learned. And so say, for example, when you're learning to mix on a B4, that skill will be considered a learned skill when you can execute that B4 on different vowels with different characterizations, in different pieces, at different times, etc. Right? So again, that's how a skill is considered learned. On the way to getting that learning, on the way to being able to do something repeated over time and under various circumstances, on the way to that, we have lots of like fits and starts and lots of back and forward. And I put a thing up that I made a couple years back as well about, learning is not a straight line. It's like yellow, dinosaur, bee, lasagna. Like it's not a straight line because that's not the way this organic processing thing that we have going on works. It's just not the way it works. So as we're creating new, and deeper pathways in our brains, which is what learning is, and chemically speaking, and organically speaking, as we're creating and changing the tissue, literally changing the tissue of the brain as we learn things, things are messy. We go off the track sometimes. We pull in some other weird things, or we get a different, we don't always execute it first time around. And of course we don't execute it first time around in many cases, because the brain, we've got to figure out the coordination. So some of the things that get in the way in the studio, in the voice studio, some of the things that get in the way of this deeper learning, of this Lynn Helding talks about performance shifts and like the masterclass. No, I can't even remember what she calls it. I can never remember what it's called. The masterclass syndrome. It's not that. It's something else. If anybody remembers, let me know. Where we often learn something fast, or we have a shift in performance that's fast, and often that is not actually deep learning. In fact, many cases that's not deep learning. And I've talked about before about the fact that often when we are in lessons, when we're teaching, something that gets in the way of us working well with students and encouraging this deeper learning is the feeling that they need to have like an aha moment in every lesson. And that's just not true. That's not the way the brain works. And frankly, if they are having an aha moment in every lesson and you're putting the pressure on yourself for them to have this aha moment in every lesson, they're likely not doing that deep learning that is going to result in being able to have repeatable, to be able to execute the task repeatedly and under various conditions. So we are doing this kind of surface learning, right? It's a performance shift rather than an actual learned thing. So that's one of the things that gets in the way of us encouraging this deeper learning in the voice studio, is this expectation on our part. And I get it, right? Folks, parents are paying a lot of money for voice lessons. If you're teaching in an institution, that's a lot of money that students are paying singers are paying in order to learn something that is hopefully going to, give them a career or allow them to sing, a way to justify how much money they're spending on this, on a degree or something, on a degree. I get it. We have these expectations on ourselves that we have to the student has to have an aha moment. They have to be progressing and getting it right every single time. So we put this pressure on ourselves, and there's also a little bit of pressure from the system. There's a little bit of pressure from society, from people who don't understand how how singing lessons work, how singing works, how acquiring this skill works. So there's, there can be that pressure, and we put that pressure on ourselves. The other thing that that gets in the way of us really encouraging and supporting this deeper learning is the need for us to hyper correct, and the need and our need as teachers to make sure that they're doing it right. We're afraid that they're going to do it wrong and they're going to learn something wrong, and so we have this hyper correction syndrome going on. And also, I'm a teacher, right? It's part of who I am to want to give you the information. That's how I'm built. It's hard for me to be I've got some information that you would benefit from. Here, let me give it to you. That's the way I'm built. So it's very challenging for us often as teachers to kind of not continually correct or continually give new directives. But what happens is when we continually correct or continually give new directives is we stop that learning process. We stop the process of the student being able to kind of figure it out for themselves and to start to get those neural pathways a little stronger on their own, which is the only way that they're going to learn. So here are 3 things that we can do in the voice studio to encourage messy learning or deeper learning or more efficient learning. Efficient might be the wrong word. Let's say deeper learning. Yeah? All right, 3 things. One thing, rather than explaining exercises or explaining how we want something to happen, or giving a list of all of the things that a student or a singer needs to do in order to create a tonal outcome, demonstrate. So as soon as you are tempted to explain an exercise, for example, we say okay, so this next exercise, we're going to do a 1-3-5-3-1 pattern. Let's do it on a Z sound, and then let's start on this pitch, and make sure that your knees are released, and make sure that you are, your inhalation is silent, and make sure that you keep the Z going really, really connected. Make that Z really connected. All of that information is not information that I can process and tell my body what to do with. That is way too much brain knowledge information and not enough body knowledge information. So the way that whenever you're tempted to give that big explanation, demonstrate instead. So you say something like, terrific, next exercise sounds like this. And then you model. So see how I added some kind of hand gesture to go with that, whatever the hand gesture was, and then you model along with the student as they're doing it. So the student, as the student is working, you're doing zzz. So you're modeling, and then again, model, again. If you do need to give a directive, that's perfectly fine. Make sure the directive is short and sweet and it is in front of the demonstration, right? So rather than demonstrate, here's the exercise. Now see how my hand did this thing, and I also had that really good inhalation to start with. And I want you to make sure that you're really swinging through those notes on the way through. It doesn't matter whether you're in chest voice or head voice, whatever way you want to do it. So all of the information that I just delivered to the student through the body and through the modeling, has just been lost because I'm now speaking into the brain part, which isn't really quite that cut and dry, but we lose the impact of the modeling if we put our explanation or our directive right after we model. So if you need to do a directive, the directive's going to go first, and maybe the directive in this example will be something like, make sure you do this hand motion, and that your breath follows the hand motion, or something like that. And it'll sound like this. Zzz. And then as they're doing it, you're going to model, not give new directives. Okay, so you're going to allow for the singer to have at least 3, if not 5 different, 5 or 6 swings through that exercise, or that piece in that chunk in the music, or that verse, or whatever it is. You're going to allow for them to have at least 3 repetitions. I usually say 5 or 6. At least 3 repetitions where you are modeling rather than giving them something else to think about, or rather than commenting, right? So we often, again, we're like, oh, okay, I want to just make sure they're doing it right. Allow them to find the right by modeling through, right? So demonstrate, then model. So you're going to model it all the way through, and you're going to model the inhalation, and you're going to model the body movement, and you're going to model all of the whatever the mouth shape is, and you're going to model like the emotion. Like, you're going to have all of the modeling there, so that singer is going, all right, yeah, I need to do this, or they may not even need to think it through, right? They can coordinate their body by seeing what you're doing. So then the coordination starts to come into their body and starts to get deeper and deeper in their memory, rather than them having to think about it and do it. So we want to combine the brain and the body here, rather than having the brain telling the body what to do. We want the body to be involved rather than brain down to body, right? We want to have this much better body-mind connection. So that's going to get us a messier learning, but it's because there will be some things that they perhaps don't do correctly, or perhaps the coordination isn't always there. That's absolutely fine. You're going to keep modeling and allowing them to have this example of what to do in front of them, rather than the mouth, rather than saying the thing. Then the third thing, so the first thing is demonstrate over explain, like rather than explaining, demonstrate whenever possible. The second thing is allow for those repetitions while modeling. So allow the repetitions and model without giving new directives. And then the third thing is, once some things have started to coordinate, once some things have started to come together, once they've starting to find that coordination, rather than giving feedback, so rather than saying, okay, that was really terrific, I saw how you were moving your hand, I saw that you were, the inhalation was really great, that Z was nice and strong and forward, the body seemed released, all that stuff. Rather than you giving the feedback, ask them what happened to them. What did it feel like for you? What happened in your body? How did you experience that? What changed for you? Did anything change for you? It's fine if not. What kind of sensations did you have in your body? Notice what is, as my somatic therapist would say, notice what is. What is? And if they say, part of noticing what is to say, I can't feel any change. You noticed what is. Terrific. Notice what is. So whatever that is. And so then you backward engineer your directive. So you take that directive that you would have said, where you would have been like, so now we're going to do the 1, 3, 5, 3, blah, 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 and you're going to make it really smooth, and whatever language you would have used to get whatever the technical skill is we're acquiring. get use whatever language they use. That then gives you the language and the sensation that they have, and allows that, again, to continue to kind of make that learning a pathway just a little deeper, just a little deeper. We're closer and closer to where, the learned or memorized ability, so that, again, so then we can use this skill or whatever it is we're working on. Many times it's repeatable over time, and it's repeatable under various conditions. So that gets you to that skill much faster and with more efficiency and more deeply than if I'm giving you all of the information, and then you're forced to filter that information through your brain to your body. So much faster to give the information directly to the body, if you will. It's very, very much connected. It's not like they're, yeah, but it's so much faster and more efficient to give that information to the body, and then to let the body have the time to figure out the coordination. As they're figuring out the coordination, you are continuing to model. You're not giving a new directive. You're not giving feedback. I mean, you can give feedback like, "Ooh, that was a better inhalation," or "Yes, that was super smooth," or "Great hand gesture," or whatever you want to. You can give that kind of, obviously, feedback. But rather than giving the feedback of, "Okay, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this," how did that change for you? What changed for you? Notice what is. I love that now. Notice what is. And then, after they are noticing what is, and they are able to give you the information, they are able to describe what is for them, that becomes your new directive. So that becomes then, if they say, the Z felt super buzzy at the front of my face. Terrific. Let's do that a few more times. Super buzzy at the front of your face. Notice what is. Backward engineer your directive. This then gets you out of the role of delivering information top down, and gets you into the role of helping and supporting students as singers find their own coordination, and as singers find the way to the coordination or the tonal outcomes that we're looking for. That is a deeper learning. It is it's a little messier, and it may be a little messier from our point of view, and also, so here's the other thing, we often teach singers to rely on us for the information that they need, or to rely on us for the feedback that they need, to rely on us. We teach them all the way through, right? So we teach them like from kindergarten up. Singers, students have the, we are taught that the teacher, the expert, the master, the person who knows more than I do in the room is going to give me the information, and then is also going to give me the feedback on the information, and is going to be able to like tell me what to do, basically. So we look to our teachers, and if you've got students who are looking to you constantly for like, was that better, or did that work? That's fine, and then start to see if you can move into what happened for you. How did that feel for you? Was that better for you? Did that tonal outcome change? Like, starting to ask those questions so that the singers start to take agency in their own learning, take agency in their own voice, and start to have that deeper learning, which may or may not be messy. Right? It may or may not be messy. It may not feel messy to the student. It may feel messy to you as the teacher, because you're not giving constant feedback, and you're not giving constant directives, right? And you're not explaining explicitly with your words. You're not using your words explicitly. So there's not this explicit explanation happening every single time. So that may feel messier for you as the teacher, especially if you are not using this kind of teaching already. But You can do it. All right, 3 things. Demonstrate over explaining whenever possible. And if you do need to do an explanation or give a directive, give the directive first and then demonstrate. Model and allow the student to sing through at least three repetitions before giving a new directive or changing course or asking for feedback. And then backward engineer your directives from whatever feedback the student gives to you. Okay? Have a great weekend. I will not be going live next week. I will not have live office hours next week because I will be teaching next week. Well, actually, no. We will be in a panel discussion a week from today, panel discussion about neurodiversity. So we have a couple of experts in the room, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that will be the spring break intensive, and I will not be live here. So I know you'll miss me terribly. Have a great weekend. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Boop. Let's end that one. And